never had much affection for business. I never felt comfortable in an office setting. You know, the standard American business office, the smell of coffee and conditioned air, cubicles and telephones, and big cumbersome computer connections snaking off the sides of crowded desks. But I do love the gadgets of business, especially in my own home studio. The stapler, the paper clips, the 3-hole punch, the pencil sharpener, the various trays, corrals, stables, and cubbies for pens and papers. Oh, and I found these old gray metal index card files. They're perfect for keeping cassette tapes organized. My hundreds of other tapes, cassettes, and CDs are strategically placed in a mixed collection of shelves, boxes, cases, drawers, and even a spinning display rack I rescued from the dumpster when the bookstore next door remodeled. My books are organized so they can watch me while I write. Each of them vies for my attention on the chance I may need an obscure philosophical reference. I built a new bookshelf for them the other day. I'm not at all handy, but after a bit of bad financial news, which reminded me, rather harshly, that my meager income as a lowly writer and actor was not paying the bills, I felt an urgent need to build something. It's the NeoRadio Hour. Hi, I'm Peter Donalds. This is the NeoRadio Hour, home of independent writers, musicians, and home tapers, the folk artists of the electronic age. We've got the usual eclectic mix of scenes, stories, and sound sculpture, including a few neo bits from our own studios. Regulars Mr. Sunshine and the Malords drop in once again. And in conversation, co-producer Frank Skillman speaks with writer and filmmaker Anthony Allen. If you have the urgent need to create, here's the place. It's the NeoRadio Hour. Independent. Audio. Art.
Well, I can tell she loves me by the look in her eye. I hope she knows I love her. God knows I try, but sometimes it's hard. I wish she was grown and she won't give me any time of my own. She drives me crazy, but I don't mind. That loving little pal of mine. She's no years old, she's got a lot to learn. Like down ain't us, the fire burns and it's gonna be hard to watch her grow. I know she's got a lot of wild seeds to sow. She drives me crazy, but I don't mind. That loving little pal of mine. And if this were heaven on earth, I'd have an angel in my arms. I can tell she loves me by the look in her eye. I hope she knows I love her. God knows I try, but sometimes it's hard. I wish she were grown and she won't give me any time of my own. She drives me crazy, but I don't mind. I think I'm gonna love her for a long, 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 long time.
And now it's time for Incohesive Butler Stories. 2 days ago, I got up and fixed a large breakfast for Lady Nilvin, my boss, like I do every day. I'm a butler, you see. As I was carrying the third tray up the stairs, I noticed the master's toupee lying on the railing. I grew immediately concerned and rushed up the stairs, careful not to spill the juice. At the top of the stairs, I saw her and called out, but she was far down the corridor and in what seemed to be some transic state. Circling the hallways, she finally ended on the edge of the balcony, where I saw her looming for the menorah hanging just out of her reach. I was too late. She completed a spectacular dive to the menorah with wind in her fire, thunder in her eyes, and a rat in her teeth. I applauded soundly, which prompted her to howl. The excitement of the brave leap caused me to let slip my mind she was naked and bald.
Ew.
As she proceeded to dive into a small bucket of water. Miraculously, the bucket held many times the water apparent, and all was well, until we spoke later. Incohesive Butler Stories!
This poem is called Long May It Wave. It's from my friend Elizabeth. A chill on the porch consists of a compound of time. New increments accumulate, holding on tightly to your hand, a body of hope. Compels me, an image from the archaeology, the representation of the human form, timeless grace, love's continuum. Tools modeled from its substance, a world full to bring us together. Tools of union from spirit matter, glimmering in you out of gorgeous ore, to empower the rebuilding and in structure accord, where change takes charge in the calm of fondness, full of anticipation, as a model of a better life. Gentle air here from the water, relaxed and close, the chill lets go. The sensations made actual to unencumber my imagination for larger pursuits, to arrange an array of tenderness, ample waves, open space of talk, touch, concerned for the entirety that the parts can assemble. Sparse passing of pedestrians goes by unaware of the sudden unfurling as we join the wind that keeps it open. Called Discards. You, in the peculiar amplitude of your presence, take an aspirin, then sleep. The others follow. A radio clinging to an ear, fortunate to obtain a listenable signal from anywhere. You, after a fashion, sometimes I wonder, change almost too much the next time it comes around, a new panacea. I have this image of things, and they'll stay that way. Others are entitled. Someone screams as if singing. You don't quite fit in, having presupposed so much already. Sometimes it's like going to waste. The repulsive discord. At some point, they risk their footing. Obviously mountains, towns where you'd pay. You have to draw conclusions. The oblique cornerstone, barely visible through haze, establishes an objective. The fare is thorough. Our discards line it. You were aware of the trends and now have their legacy as substantiation. Culture is commerce, nothing you buy will last forever. Were it not for turmoil, it would be lifeless. Rather than survival of the fittest, you recognize the process of elimination. Intimate colleagues set out. Someday you get a degree of patina so the new metal can look so shiny. Okay, this one's called termagant. We had a big argument about where that word came from and whether it always applied to women. So I guess they have to look it up. The world is no, a raging denial, shields up, engage weapons. Her world is no, not that, no, she can't, no means no. Never, yes she can, never, yes we can, just silence. It's calm, punctuated by no. No let's, no way, let's not. What she won't feel isn't real, so she doesn't feel. Shields up, nothing's real. Not love, not commitment, not progress. Simply no, unless you can penetrate the no. Engage time to enunciate no. But no, I can't go till she can say no. Even yes means no. What she can't say yes hides behind a term against no, till she can say nothing but no. No after no, evermore, so yes can't slip out and expose the knot of her no.
It's the NeoRadio Hour.
It's another full moon night, one of your favorites. I see you pointing to the sky, making sure I notice. It's where you need to be the most, my love, somewhere in the sky. It's where you need to be the most, my love, not down here making all these pretty girls cry, 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 cry. So you taught Dave to ride a bike, got a new cat, and you think it's really nice that you are always on my mind, 'cause no one else has come by yet, no, 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 no. No one else has come by yet, no, 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 no. No one else has come by to keep your little world company. And you can't decide if it should be me. Now the land and water lie in between. At home sometimes there was sorrow and jealousy, but in the sky there's a way we both can share. 'Cause this full moon night will soon be there. This full moon night will soon be there. This full moon night will soon be there. It's another full moon night, one of your favorites. I see you pointing to the sky, making sure I notice. It's where you need to be the most, my love, somewhere in the sky. It's where you need to be the most, my love, not down here making all these pretty girls cry.
Neo Radio Hour.
Martin Ramirez, born in Mexico, 1885. Poverty drove him across the border. Worked as a railroad section hand. Bewildered by life in the USA, his tongue was stopped, 1915. Still mute in LA's Pershing Square, picked up by cops in 1930, communing with pigeons and fellow drifters. Locked up as catatonic. Later transferred to DeWitt State Nut House outside Sacramento, where he spent the rest of his life. Dr. Pasto, Finnish shrink, student of art of the insane, visits the ward at DeWitt State. Martine slips him a roll of drawings, hidden in his hospital shirt. Up till then, inmates' artwork collected and burned at end of day. Martine hid it under his mattress, carefully folded it in his clothing. Dr. Pasto is amazed. Drawings done with pencil stub. Handmade paper pieced together out of paper cups, old envelopes, spit and mashed potato glue. Pasto brings him art supplies, crayons, paper, pencils, ink. Huge, exuberant linear visions. Curious tigers, locomotives, vanish in vaginated tunnels. Mythic animals, mad Madonnas, horsemen heroes, Pancho Villa's dance on Martin's proscenium stage. 300 drawings by Martin Ramirez survive in collectors' hands today. He never spoke the rest of his life. Hummed in sing-song to show his pleasure when visitors admired his drawings. Died at DeWitt in 1960. Schizophrenic, paranoid. His work now sells for tens of thousands. He could have been that man beside you, on the park bench, watching pigeons, humming.
So this is Frank Skillman with the NeoRadio Hour, and today I get a chance to talk live with Anthony Allen, who's a screenwriter, script writer, novel writer. How did you start out doing this stuff?
And how do I start out? Well, let's see. I was in the military, an Army director, traveled extensively in Europe. And about this time, Spike Lee was coming on the scene with She's Gotta Have It. And so I was saying, hey, I got to get out of the service and go back to the States, because I was in Germany, and become a Spike Lee, or a Anthony Allen director type. So one of the ways that I thought that I could get into the industry was to write my own piece. And so I thought an interesting story was the story of my life, or my father's life, because he was paranoid schizophrenic. And so I said, wow, this would make a good story. And when I talked to people about it, they said, yeah, that's a good story. So I said, well, this is what I'll start to get into the directing arena in the States, is to create my own story and then direct it. And that's how I got started.
So did you take any classes
For writing?
for writing or script writing in particular? Or?
Well, I went to a military and Air Force school for directing audio and video production, which included script writing and several other areas. But it wasn't that in-depth, okay? And I really could write pretty decently, but I wasn't really interested in writing, per se. So I took on the writing as a means to an end. And what I found was, when I started to write, I would go to those places that I was writing about, and I could hear the sounds of the birds singing. I could smell the flowers. I could smell the rain about to fall, and it became kind of weird for me, but it made it easier to write. There was a healing process too, because the first story was of a personal nature, and I felt a lot of pain because I was going back to those places in my mind. And so when I started writing, I started to uncover things that I had forgotten.
In the story that I just read, the main character is a bricklayer.
Correct.
And was your dad a bricklayer?
Correct. It's based on a true story, but I had to add things to make it more dramatic. In real life, what happened was, I interviewed all of my siblings, and everyone had a central or a main thing that they remembered, that everyone remembered, but almost everyone remembered different things. And it was like a piece in a puzzle together, because one person remembered one thing and another person remembered another, and so I pieced it all together and brought it to them and said, hey, look at this is what happened. And they couldn't believe that all of this happened, because no one experienced the same thing that the other did. And so what happened was, in reality, the kids were the only ones who really knew that he was mentally ill, except for the people who he had outbursts around, a couple of people at work. But mostly it was just the children that he went off on. And we couldn't convince the other adults that he had problems. So one day in church, he used to sing in the choir, in the adult choir. He stood up after the choir finished singing and they sat down. He stood up and just cursed the preacher out. And when he did that, everyone in the church knew that something was wrong. And that's when they sent him to get some help.
So was he hospitalized?
He was hospitalized for 6 months, and the doctors or the nurses said that he should sue whoever put him there, because he was fine. Very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did he live on medication for the rest of his life, or?
Oh, well, he would still be living now if he stayed on his medication. And that's one of the points we want to express in the movie, the book, is that for people who have illnesses, even though you feel good, while you're on them, don't get off of them. You need to stay on them, because they're what's keeping you balanced. In the screenplay, in real life,
art imitates life. Picture this: 6 children, age range from maybe 9 years old to 15, playing cards, maybe slapjack or tonk or something like that. And my father comes into the room. We were in the kitchen, all around the kitchen. And he comes in the room and puts a pot of water on the stove to boil. And he goes back into the den to and watch television in the laser boy recliner. And so, everybody's carrying on in the kitchen, and the water starts to boil. Cousin says, hey, Uncle, come on in here, and your water's boiling. So my father comes in, lackadaisically just comes in, walks in, and just methodically turns it off. And my older brother, was sitting at the head of the table. My father picks up the pot of boiling water that he just turned off, and the water's still boiling. And I'm sitting adjacent to my brother, and my father pours the water down my brother's back. Ooh. It was like a quart saucepan of boiling water, and of course he jumped up, and it was a commotion. But the point is, when my mom came home from work, she wasn't there, and saw what had happened to my brother's back, we all got in the car and went to my grandmother's house to show her what had happened before we went to the hospital, to show her, because she couldn't believe her son would do anything. And her response was, well, what did the child do to deserve a punishment like this? Because she still couldn't believe it. And the only time she believed it is when he stood up in church and cursed out the preacher. Then she saw it with her own eyes, and then she believed it. It was that hard on the children because they couldn't get anybody to believe that something was wrong. It's a healing process. And in fact, I thought I had received my total healing, when I finished the screenplay. And so I started the novelization of the screenplay. And now what I'm finding is I'm being healed again in places that I thought I was already healed in, because I'm now, in a novel, you can say what people are thinking. You can give a backstory and what went on. And so I'm doing things like that, and it's bringing up all these emotions that I thought were already dealt with.
Now, and that is the opposite way most of the time, isn't it? I mean, usually they write the novel, then they do the
screenplay, right?
Oh, okay.
Right, and so I've been having a challenge getting financial backing for the screenplay for the film, because it's not a commercial product. I could do a violent gangbanger type script, and I'm sure I could get Hollywood to back it 1,000%, and it'll be on the market in 8 months. But this is a dramatic, real-life dramatic story, and it's not glamorous, okay?
You've been working on some other things.
Oh,
too,
yes.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. When I came to San Francisco in 1990, it was with that first script, War Daddy. And since then, I've written alone one called Gravity, a screenplay called Gravity. And the premise to that one is there's an ore in the center of the Earth. It's like the year 2012. It's an ore in the center of the Earth, and it's called coryllium. And when they bring it to the surface, it repels gravity. So now you have all these anti-gravity devices and equipment and machinery. And so the Japanese has a hold on it, and so there's a conflict between American and Japanese conglomerates, or multinational conglomerates. So that's one. And the other one, there's another one I co-wrote with a guy named Mark Cole, called AV Stiffs. It's about the audiovisual industry, and it's set in a hotel in San Francisco, and it has a lot of different characters in it, and it's a screenplay. And that's just showing you a depiction of how the audiovisual industry can be when there are problems with ineptness in staff and clients.
Sort of a look at the backstage
of hotel meetings and conventions.
Meetings and conventions.
Right.
And
it's a comedy.
Series, right?
This is the one that I see as a series, because it's never ending, because you have so many different groups that come to hotels, and it's a slapstick type of comedy. What I have to do before I approach someone with it is to break it down into 30-minute sitcoms. That's what I see it as, a 30-minute sitcom. But initially, it would be a feature. The way to go about introducing or trying to move your material is called the creative departments of movie production houses, whether it's on television, cable, or feature films. And they will listen to your synopsis or your story idea. And if they like it, they'll ask you to send your material in, and then they'll work with you from there, because they have a staff of a creative staff that will make it like they want it to be, more commercial.
You have to be willing to let it go out of your hands. I
Yeah,
guess, in a
and
way.
that's really hard. That's extremely difficult if you take a year or two to write a piece, and then for someone to want to change it to make it fit their program, that's difficult. Materials, with your stories or your screenplays, you have to be careful not to shop them around too much or to the wrong people, because people or companies or organizations will take your story ideas and change them around so they don't look like your own, and sell them,
yeah.
and then you can't do anything. And I swear, I've seen this.
Should we be talking about this?
Oh, yeah,
or
you can
is
talk
that-
about. But I have several other story ideas and stuff that I can't mention right now because I haven't developed them any further.
But you're up every day at your computer or typewriter, and
Oh, yeah, I try to do 300 words a day, or at least 300 words every other day. It's difficult to do it. Some days I don't get any words done, and some days I'll get 1,500 words done. And,
so some days you do actually get up, go down to that blank screen or piece of paper, and can't do a thing, huh?
Yes and no, because whenever I go and don't have anything coming, I'll work on notes or something, restructuring the document or something to that effect. And when I do that, something will inspire me. Or I'll read the document, and I'll say, oh, let me put this in, and let me put that in. And the next thing I know, I'm writing 3 or 4 paragraphs. And I've been working lately on, I wrote 3 or 4 pages, and I edited it, okay? And I wanted to go make those changes. Well, it's been a week. I've been making changes on that section for a week, because every time I start, I keep hearing things that needs to go there, and I'm putting it in,
Yeah.
And I see things that should go there, and I put it in. And I may hear somebody, I always have a pencil or a pen and paper. Wherever I go, I'm listening for new ideas and new concepts that I can put in any particular screenplay. And so I'm working on this novel, so I'm looking for interesting ideas or stories that people have or that happen to them. And what I do, too, if I run into a blank, I'll sit there and I'll say, now, what is it in my life as a child that I did that is of interest, that I thought was exciting, And I was telling my wife last night, I said, hey, we were just talking about, if I win the lottery, because I got some tickets. I said, if I win the lottery, I'm making this movie right now, And I was saying, yeah, when I was a kid, one of the things that happened that I need to put in there, in the novel, not in the screenplay, but in the novel. I remember when we came, a Southern tradition or a Southern thing that people do in the Southeast is on Sundays they go visit their families or friends or whatever. So one Sunday night we were coming back from visiting, and there was a big wolf spider on the back porch. And we turned the light on and said, wow, look at this big wolf spider. And on the spider's back was like 1,000 baby spiders. And we said, don't touch it, but my little brother wanted to get it off the porch, so when he touched the spider to shoo it off the porch, 1,000 baby wolf spiders were spread all over the floor of the back porch. And that was something that I said, wow, that's something that's kind of cool I can put in there.
Where was it in the South that you grew up?
North Carolina. It was in North Carolina. Yeah.
Where at in North Carolina?
Henderson, North Carolina. Near the Research Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, about 10, 12 miles from the Virginia border, north central North Carolina.
I think I may have been in that neighborhood, East Flat Rock.
East Flat Rock. Oh, you're thinking maybe Hendersonville
Hendersonville.
in the mountains.
Okay.
Yeah, Hendersonville. Oh, there's a story.
I was reading your story, and I noticed that you have the stuff in there about the kudzu.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a very southeastern thing.
Absolutely.
That stuff, I mean, it's just...
it grows like crazy. It's incredible.
I mean, it's sort of like, a science fiction tale itself. This kudzu got in the ground, and, I mean, now it grows everywhere in the South, this stuff.
It does. It grows all over. It'll overtake a tree, and all you will see is the kudzu, and the next thing you know, the tree is dead. But the kudzu will keep the tree standing, because there's so much of it and it's strong.
Will it grow over your house and all?
Oh, of course. It'll grow over anything, kudzu. It'll overtake a yard if you leave your dog outside.
What, did I get the story right, though, that it came from Japan?
I don't know where it came from. When I was a kid, I used to work in tobacco. And let me tell you, it's a tobacco belt down there in North Carolina. And let me tell you, they put chemicals on the tops of tobacco. When tobacco grows, it'll grow 8 feet tall, and it'll have a 1 foot flower on the top, or several buds. But they pour a chemical on the top of it, they call it topping, that will burn that flower off, and it gets on the rest of the plant too, of course, on the leaves. So that chemical is part of the tobacco that you smoke. I mean, if it's bad enough to burn a flower off, it's pretty bad for your lungs. But anyway, also, when we would leave tobacco, or grab the leaves and stick it on your arms, or not leaving, that's not called, that's priming tobacco. We used to prime tobacco and leave tobacco. And then one summer, when I was older, I got in the barn and hoisted the tobacco up into the barns, right? And, they have you ever seen how they do this?
No.
But what happens is there's a stick about 6 feet long, and it's like a 1 inch by 2 inch stick, and you tie 2 leaves of the tobacco with a string on at 2 inch intervals along that stick. So that stick has about, let's say, 84 leaves of tobacco on it or something, and it's heavy. And the leaves of tobacco are about from your fingertips to your elbow, okay? And so it's heavy. And you take those things, and a tobacco barn is made out of timber, out of like utility poles with mud in between them.
Log cabin.
And inside it has utility poles lengthwise across it, so you hang these 6 foot lengths of tobacco across them at maybe 6 to 8 rows high, which is pretty high. You can get a lot. And then there's ovens on the bottom, and they turn these ovens on, and they call it curing the tobacco. They just dry it out. So in the summertime in the South, it is hot as hell, but in the tobacco barns, it's cool. So snakes go into the tobacco barn to stay cool. So they like to get up on these tier poles and lay there and stay cool. Moccasins. So I'm up there at the very top, putting these tobacco sticks up there full of tobacco, and somebody's handing them to me from, it's like 3 people, one on the ground, one in the middle, and I'm at the top. And I stick this tobacco stick up there on this pole, and there's a moccasin. And it's like maybe a foot away from my face. And I scare it, it scares me, and I yell, and so the way you do it, you put your feet across, you put your right foot on one pole and your left foot on another pole, and you brace yourself there. And so when I saw the snake, I reached over and grabbed the pole on the left. So I was off and moved my right foot off of the pole. And so what happened, all my weight was on that pole on the left. And it's not accustomed to handling weight from that angle. So the pole broke. And I came falling down from the top of the tobacco barn. And I was lucky enough that there was a guy standing down there, and I fell on him, and he broke my fall. Otherwise, I probably would have died, because the stoves were right down there. And so that was one of those experiences.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. I mean,
it's incredible. I mean, that it happened, you know. But yeah, it was real exciting at the time.
The tobacco industry wouldn't let you put any of those scenes in, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. So now we're trying to identify potential investors, and
boy, that's
it's tough.
Fun.
It's tough, and
yeah.
I tell you what else is tough too. Some of the investors that we have talked to, or agents that we've talked to, want to put their stars in the production. Our concept is that this is a grassroots production, and we want to get local people involved and in the parts, because we believe that there's a lot of talented people in the Bay Area, and they could be perfect for the part. And so, but a lot of the industry wants to put the stars in, and so it's been a fight just to not go that route and
well,
keep it
do you
independent.
think you would film this in North Carolina, or?
No, we have actually the movie we plan to film in Oakland. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Initially was to go to Georgia with it, but it would take, the budget would be too extravagant to take the actors and house them and everything. It wouldn't be a southern theme.
Okay.
It would not.
It would change that part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right, because most of the action takes place in the house, Willie's house, or Willie Senior's house, in the church. The exteriors are, you know, outside of the house, and the construction site, you know, the doctor's office, you know, the institution, a jail cell. So it's not a lot of different locations. I have some audition tapes, and I have some rehearsal videotapes, half-inch, you know, just camcorder stuff. It is incredible. It is just so incredible. When you see it, you feel the pain, you feel the emotion, you're touched by it.
Uh-huh.
What I really want to do is set up a system where I can make movie after movie and help the community, you know, and specifically Oakland, the community in Oakland, because Oakland is suffering in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that's what I really want to do, but I can't even do that if I can't get started on the first project. And so I think an issue that I should point out, too, is in the story, Willie Jr., the protagonist, he commits suicide. And so I think one of the issues that may bother some people who would invest in it is that the suicide of a black man in society is not something we want to show, because we don't want black men to start killing themselves. And I don't think they will do that if they see this character do that in this movie, because this man was mentally ill. Now, which brings me to this point. In real life and in the screenplay, it's set up that he killed himself because he thought that would be the way to save his family from his mental illness, because he realizes, during the course of the movie, he doesn't know that he is sick. He has sick behavior, but he doesn't remember the behavior. I learned so many things from doing this project. When you do a film, an independent film, you have to do it. Nobody's going to help. You got to do
you're
it.
There,
you have got to make it
happen.
happen.
And the lights around.
I mean,
and
well, it's like no. You can get people to volunteer time, camera people and stuff like that. They will do that, you know. And sometimes that's not the best, because if they don't want it to be there at a certain time, they won't be there, and you got other people waiting. But the thing is, you can't get off the ground if you don't have some money. And so, you would think that somebody would come and say, hey, you know, I hear what you're trying to do. I'm going to help you with this. But it doesn't happen that way.
No.
It's like, if you want it to happen, you have to make it happen. You got to make it happen. And so, if you go to venture capitalists, they want control. They're going to say who's in it, and so forth and so on. And I've been fighting not going that direction.
There's some projects that you're working on that you're willing to compromise,
Oh, absolutely.
control on.
Yeah.
And then there are other things like the story that's your
This
personal.
is personal. This is
It's a
personal,
personal thing. You don't want them to mess around with it.
Right. But I tell you, at some point, and the deadline is May this year, if something doesn't happen, if something doesn't break, I will have to reconsider my options. And hopefully the book will allow me not to have to reconsider my options and to keep it on an independent plane.
Well, it's good. I mean, you're open to what you have to do.
Oh, yeah.
What you might have to do, and you're there every day trying, and good luck with things.
Yeah, and you can't give up. That's another thing. Do not give up, because you may be one step away from success.
Yeah.
But you just cannot give up. Don't lose hope. Don't get depressed. Believe in yourself. Believe in your project, and persevere.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. That's
Okay.
a great way to end it. And, okay, Peter.
Okay.
Okay.
See you later, Peter. Who is Peter?
You're listening to the Neo Radio Hour, independent audio art. I'm Peter Donalds.
It must have been cloudy on the day I said goodbye. I changed with the weather, but I really can't tell you why. We're together in the sun, clear blue sky, a storm on the run. I came to your door and you let me in. Your love is stronger than it once had been, and we're together in the sun, together in the sun. We're together in the sun. I see you laughing, floating in between the trees. I hear your laughter come riding on that evening breeze. We're together in the sun, found the time that we lost for fun. So come to my door and I'll let you in. My love is stronger than it once has been, and we're together in the sun, together in the sun. We're together in the sun. I feel like a child awakened from a scary dream. You were in it with me, but your face was seldom seen. We're together in the sun, now we're shining down on everyone. So come to our door and we let you in. Our love is stronger than it ever has been. We're together in the sun, together in the sun. We're together in the sun, together in the sun. We're together in the sun.
be still. The concrete is my daily acquaintance. The passing cars and the bars. Yes, you have gone to the sand dunes, out by the mountain peaks. I sit around thinking the same things and worrying too much about me. The day you left, you said, I can't stand this place, I can't stand our America, you said, with all her tricky false love, I can't stand it anymore. So now you're in your new home. Tell me, is the true love there? Or do you still feel like you might break? 'Cause I do every day. I'm telling you now, I do every day. Don't you know that I do every day? You have gone to the sand dunes, and I'm here in the city still.
You're listening to the NeoRadio Hour, Independent Audio Art. I'm Peter Donalds, and, well, that was kind of a sad song. Maybe Mr. Sunshine can cheer us up. He's back this week. Mr. Sunshine is our resident social and political commentator.
Answer. It's a charged word because it carries with it the notion of right and wrong. Answer. In school, you had to know the right answer. Then you finished school, but as you grew up and life started to get a little complicated, you had to start looking for those answers. And then, if you're like a lot of people, maybe you decided there is no answer. There is no right and wrong. See, we Americans don't have the courage anymore to find answers. Of course, some of us do. Conservatives, especially the religious right, have co-opted the notion of right and wrong as their very own. Liberals, or progressives, or whatever damn label you want to put on them, handed over the ball and took themselves out of the game because they're scared to death of sounding moralistic or judgmental. I think what the left is even more scared of is the answer itself. Deep in your hearts, you know that free market capitalism will always create social and economic injustice, and that in order to turn that around, we're going to have to make some pretty radical changes in the way we make and distribute goods, services, and money. And you know that those changes are maybe going to hit your pocketbook, too. threaten your lifestyle, challenge your own personal plans for material success. Now, I know I sound like I think I've got the answer to everything. Well, in a way, I do. And so do you. But we're afraid to admit it. Especially you all on the left. Here's an illustration. Everybody knows a healthy diet consists of lots of whole grains, fruits and vegetables, beans and peas and such for vegetable protein, easy on the meat, dairy and eggs, and real easy on the sugar and fat. Now, these basic guidelines are standard common knowledge. Even hardcore vegetarians would agree that the diet I just described is a hell of a lot better than the average daily allowance of red meat, chips, soda, and sweets that we Americans gobble every day, even though we know better. So, if we know the answer to a healthier diet, why don't we practice it? Because it's not easy. There's so many temptations. We don't have the will. So what do? In an effort to rationalize and deflect, we buy diet books and latch on to exercise fads, and we make ourselves believe they will really make a lasting change. See, the left is like that. We know the answer to a healthier society and a healthier world. Why don't we practice it? Because it's not easy. There's so many temptations. We don't have the will. So what do? In an effort to rationalize and deflect, we write checks to charities and latch on to ideas and candidates, and we make ourselves believe they will really make a lasting change. But we know they won't. We know the answer. We're just afraid. We're afraid of the answer. This is Mr. Sunshine.
The NeoRadio Hour is written and produced by Peter Donalds and Frank Skillman. Contributing artists tonight, Evie Baker, Leon Rosen, Steve Lavoie, Gail Schmidt, Scott Davey, and High Strangeness. In conversation, Frank talked with Anthony Allen, writer and filmmaker. We're running a little late tonight. My apologies to the Malords. We'll get them on next week. Sorry about that. Just enough time to say thanks for listening. I hope you taped it. I'm Peter Donalds.